This is the November 14th, 2023 meeting of the Jefferson City Board of Adjustment. My name is Drew Hake. I am the chair of the board. I'd like to introduce the members of the board. Jim Crabtree, Brad Schaefer, Jay Seaver, Michael Eigner, and who did I leave out? Adam. Okay, I'd like to introduce our council liaison, Miss Aaron. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Staff members, would you please introduce yourselves?
City Planner.
Eric Barron, Planning Manager. Behind me just stepped out is Clint Smith, the Director of Planning and Protective Services.
Tiffany Pearson, Administrative Assistant.
Okay, Miss McCall, will she be joining us?
Not quite sure, but.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. Missouri law requires at least 4 affirmative votes to be cast for approval of any official matter before this board. Alternates may be designated to vote upon the absence or disqualification of any of the regular members. A quorum of 4 members or alternate is necessary to conduct business. I declare that a quorum is present. Ms. Lacey, as a regular member, she is absent this morning. Are there any members of this board who wish to disqualify themselves from hearing this case or participating in this case for any reason? Seeing none. Voting members are as follows: Drew Hake, Brad Schaefer, Jay Seaver, Jim Crabtree, and Adam Cartwright. Okay, is there an applicant present for case B23008, 500 Madison Street for a sign variance? If so, please raise your hand. Thank you. Are there any requests for a continuance this morning?
No, we have not received any requests.
Seeing none. Are there any requests to reorder the agenda this morning? Seeing none. Okay. All testimony and evidence shall be submitted to the board under oath. At this time, all those who wish to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Please be seated. Thank you. Okay, staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to briefly describe the procedures of the board. The proceedings of the meeting are being recorded, so please project your voice and speaking and give your name and address for the record. The standard order of each case is as follows. After introduction of the request by city staff, the applicant or their consultant will provide information on the request. The opening presentation by the applicant shall be limited to 10 minutes unless additional time is granted by the board. The applicant shall have 3 additional minutes for closing testimony if requested. We will then ask to hear from supporters of the request. We will then ask to hear from opponents of the request. We will then ask to hear from anyone else who wishes to speak on the request. Testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each unless additional time is granted by the board. City staff will then give their recommendations on the request. In order to reduce the time necessary to hear an application, references to printed materials including staff reports and applicable findings shall not be read into the record unless directed by the board. The board will close testimony from the floor. The board will then discuss the proposal, then publicly make its determination with reasons. The form of motion shall be positive, that is, that the motion shall be made to accept the request as presented or with modifications, stipulations, or conditions. A final vote will be taken with ayes favor, nays opposed. The chair shall announce the results of the vote, specifying the number of votes cast in favor and the number of votes cast against. If 4 or more votes are cast in favor of the motion is approved. If 3 or less votes are cast in favor of the motion is denied. The following documents are entered as exhibits for all items under consideration at this meeting: the City Code of the City of Jefferson as amended, the comprehensive plan and land use map, copies of applications under consideration, a list of property owners to whom notices were sent, the affidavit of publication of the public notice in the newspaper, copies of drawings, plans, and/or renderings under consideration, letters or memorandum of staff reports, minutes of proceedings, correspondence, or other materials submitted by the public or the applicant. Rules of procedure for the Jefferson City Board of Adjustment. These items are a public record and available for inspection to the Department of Planning and Protective Services or through the Office of the City Clerk. Please be advised that any items that are presented, distributed, or otherwise received pertaining to the cases under consideration become the property of the board. This includes any photographs, drawings, petitions, and letters. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can you hear all right? Okay, just
All right, thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as printed or reordered?
so moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of the October 10, 2023 meeting?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any correspondence to this particular case this morning? Thank you. Okay. Case number B23008, 500 Madison Street, signage variance, request filed by Central Missouri Trust Company as the property owner for a variance to Chapter 3 of the City Code, Section 3-5.1, Electronic Messaging Center to permit a three-sided electronic message center in a C3 Central Commercial Zoning District. Property is located on the north side of Highway 50 between Madison Street and Jefferson Street and is described as in lots 704 to 707, City of Jefferson, County of Cole, Missouri. Pinnacle Sign Group is the consultant. Hey, Ms. Courtney.
Apologies, Chairs, we've had issues with that clicker.
Okay.
Not a surprise.
Ain't technology grand.
So the subject property is outlined in blue and is zone C3 commercial. Central Bank is located on this property. Just a few things to note on the computer slide is the layout of the road network. So on the west side of the road, or on the west side of the property is Jefferson Street, and then on the east side is Madison Street, and then curving southward below the property is Highway 50. North is zone C3 central commercial with there being office space and a bank. To the east is zone C3 general commercial, central commercial, with there being one of the notable uses being the Performing Arts Center. To the south is zone C2 general commercial with there being a mixture of commercial uses, one example being Central Dairy. And then to the west is zoned, there's a strip of C3 as well as C2 general commercial, and then a little bit further west being RA2 high density residential, with there being uses such as office space and commercial use. This is a closer-up aerial image of the site with it again being outlined in blue. On towards the westernmost corner, you can see there is an existing sign located on the property that serves it, and I'll show a street view of that sign here in a little bit. The request is for a signage variance to replace the existing sign that is now serving Central Bank to put in a new electronic message center in the same location. In Chapter 3, which details signage regulations, they technically can have, in C3 Single Commercial Zoning District, they technically can have an electronic message center, but it would be limited to display only time, temperature, and the cost of automobile fuel. So they are wanting to have a standard commercial electronic message center which would expand what they could display on their sign. So they're asking for a signage variance before the board today. And so this entity is responsible for reviewing this request and then coming to a decision on that variance request. The applicant has supplied responses to science variance findings in their application materials, which is located in the packet. And then staff has also provided responses in the staff report, also found in the case packet. So this is a street view of that sign, as well as the Central Bank location. And you can see on the left-hand side that sign that they want to replace. Again, it will be in the exact same location, and they will both share the same height. They want to replace that existing sign with this sign. It would have 3 sides, have a height of 30 feet, and the 3 sides it would have screens on all 3 sides. Again, being 3-sided triangular shaped. So the position of this site is unique in that it is in a C3 central commercial zoning district, and it is adjacent or near Highway 50, whereas there's not much of that zoning situation with respect to also being next to Highway 50. And as you'll note, even the Performing Arts Center, which is just east to it, has a electronic message center. Now that it does have an exception because it is a school, so that's why it can have that standard commercial electronic message center. But as you can see, there's central commercial along the south side of the highway, so they can have that standard electronic message center. So again, they wish to have a sign similar to what surrounds them. So this is looking from Highway 50 at the electronic message center that Performing Arts Center has, and then this is what the Coca-Cola company has. There's another one further up along Highway 50 at the River Region Community Room, which is a little bit before you get to Capitol Plaza and the Convention Center. So again, they're requesting a science variance to allow them to have a standard commercial electronic message center, which would allow them to display more than just time, temperature, and the cost of automobile fuel to look like that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Ms. Courtney or staff?
Would this be the time to ask something related to the current statutes and why this is necessary?
Yes. Staff, would you address that?
Sir.
So Courtney mentioned, which I'd written down a few examples. What differentiates this from the River Region building and or the Coke building sign or the Hawthorne Bank out west? They have one as well. And why is this a variance necessary?
So
Those others receive variances.
there are several unique situations in the area. And so to answer your question, it's the zoning. It's the zoning district. And with the downtown commercial, that C3 commercial zoning district really only existing along this stretch of highway in one spot where the Bank and Performing Arts Center are. As Courtney kind of pointed out, the Performing Arts Center is in a special category, so that's unique situation number one. And that schools are permitted electronic message centers by right, kind of separately within the code, no matter where they are. Usually they're in residential zoning districts. Elias has a electronic message center, and I think several of the schools, school districts have that. And across the road at the Coca-Cola distributor building, this body actually granted some variances in order to permit that roof-mounted billboard-style electronic message center to replace the previous sign, which was a removable letter type message center. So that's unique situation number two. And further down the street at River Region Credit Union, they are zoned C2. The signage, the electronic message center they have there is permitted by right under the code. And so nothing unique about that particular situation. And so that's kind of the overview of why. It's the zoning district. It's the C3 zoning existing along this stretch of highway. When the electronic message center code was written, which was about a dozen years ago, somewhere around 2010-ish, don't recall exactly the year, But a committee of people was formed by the mayor at the time to review this and several other signage issues and propose amendments to the city council, which they did and proposed. And electronic message center, some of the fears that were in them was them being located downtown, and so in the core downtown area. And so that's why that prohibition was listed. This particular property having frontage on on the expressway is somewhat unique in that respect. It's not along that Main Street corridor. So.
Thank you very much.
Any other for staff? Glad you addressed that issue. Thank you. Okay. Who would like to present this case? Approach the podium, name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Darren Pierce, Pinnacle Sign Group.
Can you spell your last name, please?
P-E-A-R-C-E.
Thank you. And you're from?
Pinnacle Sign Group. We're located in Springfield, Missouri. We're the sign company for Central Bank throughout the region. And thanks for having me today. We started this process almost 4 years ago, and then COVID hit and everything paused for a while. So we've reintroduced it. But the sign, the intent of the sign is to actually be competitive with their competitors and actually modernize the sign. The sign itself, we looked at refurbishing the existing sign, but it's been refurbished 3 or 4 times in the past, and it's served its life, and the structure itself is rusting out. And so the intent is to go right back in the same placement. The setback's pretty far from all the roads, and because of the 3-sided sign, one of the sides is actually just advertising towards the drive-through customers, just their customers. The other is intended to hit traffic, nearby traffic, and because of the zoning of C3, we hit a roadblock with the allowance. So this overall, the sign's going to look really nice. It's not going to be any taller than the existing sign. It's 30 foot tall. A little bit larger footprint just because of the nature of how it's positioned. But we're also updating all the directional wayfinding signs to correlate with it and make it look real nice. The intent is to give a nice presentation for the neighbors and their customers. The sign itself, the digital sign, is a high-performance Daktronics, high-resolution 10 millimeter. It's got automatic dimming and automatic features that'll keep it not illuminating so bright at night, and some of those things. So, and we're seeking a variance so we can get this process started and get the sign. Because one way or another, it's got to be replaced.
Any board members have a question for this applicant?
The screens don't look big enough for Chiefs games. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Something
I know.
we could address.
Hey, I tried. I'm just not a very good salesperson.
That didn't work out.
Dang it.
Good point.
The current digital display is quite small. I assume this will be larger for time and temperature.
This is large. This is larger, and in the digital world, they're not even making time and temperatures anymore. It's part of the feature of these new boards, and they're full color displays. They're not going to strobe or flash or anything like that. But the existing unit is not even repairable. It's obsolete.
Any other questions for the applicant? In your packet, I'm not seeing sheet numbers here, but it does indicate a screen size of 410 by 9.8. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, yes. Yeah, that's the visual size.
Also, for my own information, the control module is located where?
That'll be located in the bank.
In the bank?
Yeah. And
Okay, on site?
Well, yeah, and anymore, these are able to locate, I mean, they can, it's to their choosing, but it's gonna be in their marketing department.
Okay. Also, back to staff for a moment. Isn't there some issue with the rate of change in these things, when the screens change, or am I thinking something completely different?
Yes, there is a regulation on how many seconds between each flip to the screen. I believe, off the top of my head, I believe it was 8 seconds to change, so that they cannot change very rapidly.
So what is your anticipation of the rate of change on this site, or can you address that issue before this board?
Well, I can't address that. Typically, the rate of change is centered around off-premise advertising, billboards, and things like that, just for the distraction. There you go, 8-second hold on them. On-premise signage like this typically can animate, do some things. They just can't flash or strobe, but they can have images and float in and out and things like that. So
you're referring to movement?
Yeah, movement, but they don't. Their advertising is very classy and pretty streamlined. So,
Mr. Chair, my apologies, it's a 4-second.
4 seconds, thank you. I knew there was something about that, but I couldn't. We talked about that on one other case quite some time ago. Anyway, okay, not pertinent to this one at hand. You'll notice I drift a little bit. These people keep me straight. That's a good thing.
That's a good question.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
So in your packet, are you going to have ground-mounted lighting as well as
just soft cast lighting up on the structure itself?
And that won't compete with the illumination?
No, it's going to be, it's pretty similar to the nighttime view here. It'll be, it's really subtle up on the structure. It gives more, just gives a little bit more presence.
And then the central bank name signage in the logo is protruding. It's an extruded letter that protrudes.
Yeah, it's actually a channel letter. It's similar that you'd see on a storefront. That's 4 inches deep, and it'll look like it's kind of molded into the sign. It's a nice look, and it's a little easier to service if there's an outage, because we can go right either in the power supplies at the base of the sign, or just open up the face without having to dig into the sign.
And the actual signage is it a stainless steel? Is it white paint?
It's aluminum. It's a 125 thickness, real nice. Painted dusted crystal, which is a silver. That's going to complement their other silver on the property. So the aluminum will be non-rust. The steel, the footing, the concrete footing, the steel pipe. There'll be a steel pipe down the center, but that'll be the only steel component. Everything else will be all aluminum, 100% aluminum. And we're actually going to place this on a nice landscaping pad too. So about 4 inches in height or something for the concrete.
And it is capped. You have a roof.
It will, and it'll have some venting on there too. So be a perforated, semi-perforated roof.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition to this request? Is there anyone who would like to speak on this matter for any reason? Seeing none? Okay. Okay, Ms. Courtney?
Mr. Chair, a brief staff analysis has found that the proposed sign will be located where the existing sign is now and will have the same height. The subject property is similar in use to the nearby properties and which have an electronic message center and is adjacent to a major highway. The subject property is differentiated from other C3 zone properties in that it has because of its high capacity drive-through land use as well as its exposure to a major highway corridor. The new sign is proposed to be similar to the standard commercial electronic message centers in the area. Further, the sign is subject to all applicable requirements of both Chapter 3 and Chapter 35. Before the board today is a single motion which would approve a signage variance from Section 3-5I1B to permit them to have a standard commercial electronic center. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, would someone like to make a motion in this matter?
I can make that motion, Mr. Chairman. In reference to case B 23008, I make a motion to approve the signage variance from section 3-5I1B regarding the type of electronic message center permitted within the C3 Central Commercial Zoning District to permit a standard commercial electronic message center.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been presented to this board. Motion's been made. Do we have discussion? Contained within the packet, there were references to ECM or EMCs. Took me a little while to figure that one out, but finally figured that one out. So electronic message, I like that one. So, one of the things, the current sign, you made mention that it had been replaced several different times. One of the things about the existing sign right now is when you drive by, it's a little hard to read. And folks around here depend on that time and temperature. I think the phone number is still out there somewhere for time and temperature as well, but that's not pertinent to this case. So with this message center as it is, seems like it's going to greatly improve. I'm interested to see what sort of displays we're going to see. There's several, as is once discussed, several signs along that corridor. Some a little more entertaining than others, but I'm looking forward to it, assuming the board approves this. That's about all I've got. About y'all? Okay. Here we go. Ms. Tiffany, do I have a roll call vote, please?
Hake.
Aye.
Crabtree.
Aye.
Schaefer.
Aye.
Seaver.
Aye.
Cartwright.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We're done in U1. If you have any questions, see these folks over here. Thank you. Very good presentation. I always appreciate professionalism when cases are brought before this board. Thank you for that consideration. Okay, other business.
Feel free to leave.
Any staff updates?
Staffed up, so we do have a couple cases filed for next month, so we will have a meeting next month. One of them is a setback variance at a single family home for garage addition. The other is a floodplain variants out of the
Oh
airport.
boy, here we go again.
Familiar with those. And so a new airport hangar. So a new fresh floodplain variants. That's what we got on the docket for next month. And so please make sure that date's available on your calendar. I know we're getting close to the holidays.
Been a busy year. Okay, before the board members, we have the 2024 Board of Adjustment meeting schedule. Look that over.
There's just one day, so all meetings fall on the second Tuesday of the month except for one, which is an asterisk there, and that's the November meeting, which conflicts with the Veterans Day holiday. So what our practice is that we will not hold a early morning meeting if Monday is a city holiday.
Makes sense.
So we will scoot it, and we usually scoot it back, but we do look at the calendar to see back or forward, which makes more sense.
So we need a motion and vote on this calendar?
We typically do a voice vote.
Okay. Okay. Voice vote. All in favor of the adoption of the 2024 Board of Adjustment meeting calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we just adopted a schedule. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, board members, thank you very much for your participation. We value your presence here, and it's been a busy year. So, with that, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks, y'all. Thanks to the booth. We really